everyone. Thanks for joining us. Everyone is creative. A creative life requires bravery and action, honesty and hard work. We are here to support you, celebrate with you, and encourage you to make things you love. We believe in the power of community. We believe in giving a damn. We believe in face-to-face connections and learning from others in hugs and high fives. We bring together people who are driven by passion and purpose, confident that they will inspire one another and inspire change in neighborhoods and cities around the world. Everyone is welcome.
That's right. Thanks, John. That's right. Everyone is welcome. We are turning 2. Creative Mornings, the Oklahoma City chapter is 2 years old. You may see some party hats around. Can you go ahead and put those party hats on? We're going to celebrate. That's why we've got some balloons. We're festive. And I want to see how into it are we? Can we just sing happy birthday to Creative Mornings? Are we down or what? Yeah, let's do it. I can't sing very well, but I'm just going to stand back from the mic. Maybe over here. Are we ready? 1, 2, 3. Happy birthday to you. Yeah. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Creative Mornings, Oklahoma City chapter. Happy birthday to you. Yes. So we're going to do a photo. So we're going to kind of lean in just a little bit. Smile real good.
You don't have to be a rocket scientist.
I had to say it that way.
You know, it's like the slow hanging fruit, guys. Sums it up.
Everybody, put up a 2.
2.
There you go. You guys are so good.
Oh, look at the awesome. It's been 2 years of networking, fun, mimosas, Bloody Marys, all the greatness, and coffee. Just so you know, coffee is coming. We had a bit of a hiccup this morning, but it is on its way. Can we thank Wood Willow Music as they just stepped out that way? Aren't they so good? I know one of them has to leave, but we do have some merch here that they're going to be selling. So afterwards, come up and see what they got, see how you can connect with them also on social media. Thank you for the coffee. We're going to thank him when he gets here. So this is just anticipation of, because my cup is empty and I want it to flow with over. Amen. Amen. Thank you for the breakfast. Oh, too fast. There we go. Huff Ear Institute and Holy Rollers partnered together for this wonderful breakfast. I love that there was gluten-free options on there. So yes, inclusivity. There we go. You can say the word. Oh, that's the wrong way. It's all right. That's all right. Everything's fine. Again, thank you so much for letting us host and to be here in this fine establishment. This is fantastic. Thank you guys for being here. We are so excited. Okay, it's already going. Is it? Is it on? Okay. We're just going to put it right here so that Mike can come up and do his thing when he comes up. Are you going to introduce? All right. So Hetty is going to introduce this fine man. Let's give it up for Hetty. Yeah.
Good morning to you all. So glad to be here. My name is Hetty, not Eddie or Freddie. It's with an H. Hey, if we could, let's give it up for Mel and Andrea on this number 2 birthday. Mel and Andrea, would you just wait, just in case, I know y'all famous. They're the ones who make sure this happens every month. And they put in so much work behind the scenes, and it's not as easy as it may feel. It's very hard. So we so appreciate you all letting us gather every month. Somebody said this is the best creative event that they attend. So kudos to you all. They said this is fun. I don't know where they get that from. But anyway. Hey, and I just want to say one more time that all of y'all look really good outside earlier when I was making everybody wait out in the cold. We were just going around in a circle talking about how good each other looks. So go ahead and look at somebody and say, you look really good today. Go ahead. Yeah, you look really good. Really good. So tonight, this morning, our starting speaker coming in at 6'1", 175 pounds, from Wales, traveled all the way to Oklahoma for golf, has started This is Oklahoma podcast. He is not from Oklahoma, don't know nothing about Oklahoma, but he started a podcast called This is Oklahoma. This man has lost weight to fight tonight, to drop 15 pounds to 175. And if everybody would please go ahead and give a crazy round of applause from the guy not from Oklahoma, Mike Hearne!
Wow. I don't think I've ever been introduced like that before. And, yep, that's me. I'm shaking like a shitting dog right now, so if anybody could not remember this, that'd be great. But when Susanna and Mel asked me to do this last month, those of you that know me, I'm not really a quiet person, so when they asked me, I was like, yeah, I'll do it, I'd love to do it. Let's go ahead and run with it. And then I found out I had to talk about silence. I'm not a quiet person. I've never been a quiet person. I'll pause. Everyone wants their coffee, and I'll bring this back. I'll take one. Oh.
Yeah, Taryn.
It sounds really good.
Okay.
This looks like coffee, but it's actually creamer.
Thanks.
Hold on, Jared. Can everybody just say, yeah, Jared? There we go.
You can get coffee. Don't worry about me. No? All right. Yeah, so when they asked me to do it, I was like, oh, shit. I'm not quiet. What do I do? So I thought back to a time where, I actually sat in silence for once and thought of a time where I actually was quiet. So I'm going to share a few stories today about how I overcame being quiet, came to the States, kind of grew as a person, and why I'm here now and why I've fallen in love with this state. So I'm from Wales. Yes, we have the greatest flag in the world. The little red bit is where Wales is. It's a tiny country in the UK. And I grew up playing golf. I was fairly decent at golf growing up, so I was offered a scholarship to Southern Nazarene University. And you may ask, why SNU, right? Why? I've come from a beautiful country, mountains. It rains all the time, I promise you. It's not that good. But why SNU? Well, SNU was the only offer I had. I applied to go to university late, and I was like, well, if I'm going, I've got to go. So I didn't have another choice. So never ever been to the States before. I'd never been to Oklahoma. I didn't know what a Nazarene was. I didn't grow up, which any of you who know SNU, it's like, whoa, dude, what are you thinking? I'd never been to the States before, right? So never grew up in a religious family. So yeah, you can see where this is going. So me and my dad fly out, and I started college late. I was turning 21 in September. So I'm 20 years old, I'm almost 21. We fly halfway across the world. I land in Oklahoma. It's 110 degrees, and I'm in jeans and a hoodie. I'm thinking, what am I doing here? Flying in, it's super flat. The drive from the airport up to SNU is like straight up Meridian, down 39th. It's not the most glamorous part of town. I apologize if you live there, but it's not. So I'm thinking, like, what am I doing here? I'm halfway around the world. I miss home already. And people talk really slow here, and they're kind of odd. When that whole week, my dad kind of helped me get settled in, meet my freshman roommate, which, is anyone here still friends with their freshman roommate? It's never really a good mix. Well, it wasn't for me, so. But we go through the whole NSI stuff, get checked in, and everything's fine that week because my dad's still here. Once my dad left, I walked out of the airport saying goodbye to my dad, crying my eyes out at the age of 20. And I'm almost crying now thinking about it, because I'm super emotional. But my world really got weird at that point. And I say weird because, I don't know, I was just super sad, right? I miss my mum, and my dad's flown halfway, gone home, and I'm left here. I don't have enough money to change my flight, and I want to get on that flight with my dad and go home, because that's what comfort is, right? It's comfortable. So this lady picks me up from the airport and takes me back to school, and that whole, next week was so bad for me, because it was 2011, right? So we have Skype, there's no FaceTime. I'm an international student, so I don't have enough money to buy an iPhone. So I have this terrible phone that I'm calling my parents on halfway around the world, and I'm crying to my mum 2 days after, my dad's just landed. And I'm thinking the hell am I doing here? Like what have I done to myself, you know? I had this easy life back home. I wasn't going anywhere, but it was comfort. And that first like month like rocked me big time, because in the weeks, fine, going to class is fine, you can engage with people, going to golf practice was okay. That first week I found out I couldn't play golf. I was ineligible for my freshman year. So it's something I'd flown halfway around the world for to play golf. I couldn't actually compete. So when you go to practice, you have nothing to practice for, right? So that sucked too, and something my coach didn't tell me until I got there. So that was like really tough, and I was really kind of in a moment, and I was lonely, depressed a little bit, quiet, silence, and like after 6 p.m. every day, I had no one to speak to back home because everyone's in bed. And that was really rough. You know, I didn't have a PlayStation. I couldn't play Call of Duty with everybody around the world, right? Like, I was an international student living out of a suitcase. I didn't have much money. But I kind of had to, you know, I had to grow up. I had to become a different person, right? And I had to get to a stage where I could become the person I am back home in the States. I could get comfortable, I could make friends, and be this kind of outgoing person that I am now. I turned 21, and a friend of mine on the golf team took pity on me because they thought I was this lonely guy who cried to his mother every night on Skype. They took me out for my 21st birthday. And if you go to SNU and you go out and drink, they'll take your scholarship away from you, right? So my assistant coach was from South Africa, and he's like, comes up to me, this huge South African dude, and he's like, don't say a word, we're gonna go out tonight. I'm like, oh, okay. And they had no idea who I really was, right? They just took pity on me because I'm just like, they felt sorry for me. And I kind of got a sense of home just going and hanging out with a few guys and having a beer. As weird as that sounds, like that was like one thing that made a turning point for me. And then I got invited to a family's Thanksgiving, and being around a family and being around dogs, like how weird is that? To be around someone's dogs made me feel so much at home. And that family is like my American family now. So from that point, like I went home, and that Christmas I made it through the first semester, and I kind of grew as a person, and everyone would ask me, what's America like? And I was so ashamed to say that I hated it, and I wasn't like taking full advantage of the opportunity that my parents had given me and sacrificed to be there, that I was like, oh yeah, it's amazing, I love it, you know, I can't wait to go back. Really didn't, you know, I'm like, but I was so ashamed to like be honest and say that I didn't enjoy it, and I didn't want to ruin this opportunity. Like deep down I knew that like you need to grow up, get your head out your ass, and like be a person about it, right? But that was a really tough time. So that's kind of when I was silent. And from there, like making that decision to consciously be more outgoing and always say yes to things, kind of why I said yes to doing this without figuring out I had to talk about silence. And some of the stories I'll tell you is basically after that, life got a lot better. I played a lot more golf. I got better at golf, had a really good junior year, and my senior year went really well. So I get to my senior year, and I want to stay in the States. Like, I don't want to go home. I love it here now. You know, I've got a lot of friends. I've had some success. I'm about to graduate somehow. And SNU's really easy, by the way. If anyone wants to go there, has kids who wants to go there, you could pass any class. If I can pass, right? If I can pass an accounting class, you can pass anything. So you know, come to senior year, when you're an international student, they give you, like, you have the opportunity to stay another year and do a 1-year work experience. And I didn't want to work like 9 to 5 full-time, a real job, because if this was my last year in the States, I kind of wanted to enjoy myself. So I met with my professor and voiced to him, said, look, I want to do something that I can, if someone invites me to go play golf in another state, I want to say yes. I don't want to have to ask a boss and, you know, go through all that stuff. So he suggested real estate. I'm still in real estate to this day, so I'm still kind of living that life, not really working that much and running my own schedule, which is kind of nice. But he suggested that I meet a college friend of his who played golf at SNU. So I met this guy, and to tell you how that conversation went, that guy is now my brother-in-law. So what happened was, I meet this guy, and you know when you get an email from someone you've never met, and they have like their bio and their headshot, and you see their headshot, and you instantly paint a picture of that person? So I painted a picture of this person, and I'm thinking he's got a really strong jawline, he's a good-looking dude, he's probably like 6'4", whatever. It's like 5'8", right? And I can say this about Chad because he's going to watch this, and his name's Chad McCamey, if anybody knows who he is. He's a good-looking dude, but he's not exactly who I imaged, right? But at this point, I was totally comfortable with myself and meeting new people. So when I met him, I was able to express who I am, what I wanted to do. I wasn't like, it didn't feel like an interview. So he asked me, you know, if Keller Williams is going to invest a year in you, what happens after? Do you go home? Like, you know, how are you staying after your 1 year? And I said, well, I could go to graduate school. I don't really want to. Keller Williams could pay for me to stay. Never going to happen. Or I could get married. And I quite sarcastic and said, you know, said it like that. And he replied, you know, I have a sister-in-law. Do you want to go on a double date? And again, like saying yes to everything. I was like, sure, why not? What have I done? What's she look like? What's her name? Like, can I kind of creep on her a little bit and figure out if it's someone I may be interested in? And I completely lucked out. So 2 weeks later, we go on a double date. And I married the same girl. Wow. I married the same girl twice in 2 years. Because, and that's what, there's 2 different wedding days there. So, you know, dating goes really well. And that top picture is in Taryn's parents' house. So we get to November of that year. I'd met her kind of like up towards before I graduated. So I've been dating quite a bit. And I told my friends, I was like, I wasn't silent about things now. I voiced I said, I'm going to marry this girl. And, you know, told my friends in November. In January, I go call Taryn's parents, right? She's off working. I sneak into the house, kind of, you know. And if anybody's been through that conversation with their father-in-law, it's really not easy, is it, right? And my father-in-law is like 6'5", 300-pound Indian dude, you know, Native American, like, he's a teddy bear, right? But initially you think this guy is really intimidating. And to ask him to, you know, could I be a part of the family was really cool. And they agreed, so that went really good. And then, and again, voiced to a friend of mine, I'm going to marry, you know, propose. Do you know anybody who's an immigration attorney? And luckily he did, and referred me to a lady named Kelly, Kelly Stump, who was my immigration attorney. And Taryn wasn't meant to come with me when I met with Kelly. It was more of me going to find out, what do I need to do? So, but she was there. For some reason, we had, like, Kelly's had to change an appointment, and Taryn was with me at the time, and she ends up coming. And we walk in to see Kelly, and Kelly's like, when do you guys get engaged? Not engaged. I'm just, like, behind her doing this. She's like, oh, and I'm like, look, I just want information. I've been told that I just have to get engaged, and you know, I just want to know what the process is, because my visa ends May 31st, right? And she looks at us, and she's like, you have to have everything sent off by March the 1st. It takes 90 days for everything to file, and you've got 3 weeks. And I'm like, 3 weeks for what? She's like, you got 3 weeks to get married and have everything sent off. I haven't even asked this girl to marry me yet. And she sat next to me, and I'm like, there is a big oh shit moment, right? And Kelly's just like sat there kind of orchestrating this weird kind of meeting. So we left there and drove straight to Taryn's parents' house, and having to ask Taryn's dad and Taryn's mum, can I marry your daughter and be a part of the family, is really easy compared to, can I marry your daughter on Tuesday at the house? And that's like, and you know, if you've ever been through something like having to ask an awkward question, the longer you take, the worse it gets, right? So I literally just walked straight into the house, was like, we need to sit down, I need to tell you something, and it just came out. And luckily, they were like, yeah, you know, okay, if that's what wants to happen, you're adults, that's what you've got to do. So that was a Tuesday. It was the first week in February, I believe, or the second week in February. That Thursday, we went and got our marriage license. Again, I haven't asked her to marry me yet. We've kind of spoken about it, but like by now it's like, I'm staying in the country, we're getting married, you don't have a choice. So, you know, we go get our marriage license, and everyone who's like gone to get their marriage license with their spouse, right, you're super exciting, you know, you get married in a couple of days, you take that selfie with the piece of paper. I don't have that. It was more like, just let's get it done, what's next? Because I had to put my relationship in a binder and send it off with everything to the government, right? Not really fun, but luckily we took a lot of pictures in the 9 months that we dated, so. And 9 months for dating out here is kind of normal, and getting married, whereas back home it's really not. So that was a plus for me. But, so like our first date, we'd kind of gone and done the double date thing, and we'd kind of done, like I was doing a photography class in school, so I had to go downtown, and we went on our own first date together, like let the kids go on their own thing. took photos downtown, got coffee. So my idea of proposing was reliving my first date. And I'm not really romantic, I'm terrible at stuff like that, but that was my idea. So that Saturday morning leading up, I told Taryn, I was like, hey, let's go take pictures downtown. We haven't done it in forever. Thankfully, she was oblivious to what I was gonna do. Had the ring, and I was actually gonna legit ask her to marry me, even though I know it's gonna happen. I mean, I already have a marriage license. So I go downtown, take pictures, and this is kind of where the story gets kind of hectic, but also quite funny. We're walking around like automobile alley area, taking pictures, and I'm not someone who I like my picture taken of, but I have to take pictures of her. So taking pictures, it's getting cold. We have a birthday party to go to. A friend's niece's first birthday party is at noon, right? So I'm walking around, and Taryn's getting pissed off. She's tired. She wants to eat. And any of the women here, when you're tired or you want to eat, it's not a good thing to be around. But I have this ring in my pocket, and I have to propose, right? So I walk out onto this road, and I think it's like 6th Street. I walk out, and there's no one in the road. It's perfect setting, right? No one in the road, no cars. And she's walking ahead of me, and I'm like, if I get down on one knee now and call out to her, she's going to turn around. It's going to be magical. And I froze. I was silent, literally silent. And that moment, like, of 30 seconds just passed, right? And I'm thinking, oh, shit, missed the moment. I was quiet, silent at that time. What am I going to do? And she's like, right, we got to go. We're going to be late to this kid's birthday party. And the kids whose birthday it was that family who took me to Thanksgiving. So we're part of the family. And there's a pink building with a red door, and I think it's still there. And I'm like, go take a picture of this, go take a picture. I want to take a picture against this door. It looks cool, it's different. She doesn't want a picture taken. She wants to take a picture of me. So go up, I stand there and look to the side like I'm kind of a model. I'm not, super awkward. And as I walk to her and get the camera from her and she turns around, I pretend to tie my shoelace and get the ring out and, crying my eyes out like a baby. I'm like, will you marry me? And that's kind of like, it was super weird, right? Because we were already getting married. We already got a marriage license, but that act was kind of like me kind of breaking a silence as well, of me actually having to go through that as a man and doing that proposal. So everything's exciting. We walk back to the car's parked at S&B, and we're walking back there. It's super cold. It's February. I put the camera on top of the car, take my coat off, chuck my coat in the back seat, and get in the car and drive off. And we're driving off. You kind of pull out onto Automobile Alley, take a right on 10th, down across the tracks, take a left up onto Broadway Extension, get on the highway, and as you go up the highway and you get up on top and you look, and the Capitol building's on your right, I just hear this like rattle on the roof. And then I look in the mirror and I see this black thing exploding in the highway. I'm thinking, shit, I know exactly what that is. And Taryn's like, what's that? I'm like, the guy next to me is pulling up next to me and he's like, camera. I'm like, thanks, crying. So pull over, go back, camera's in pieces. And this wasn't my camera. Like, I borrowed this camera. So, I had to go through that too. So camera lens is gone, destroyed, can't find it. I have the camera body, which is scratched to pieces. It fell off the car at 60 miles an hour. SD card is nowhere to be found. We've never seen those pictures, ever. So I've got to go from this now, break silence again, and tell Josh that I just destroyed his camera. And then I've got to go to a friend's first birthday party and not spoil that kid's first birthday party because I'm kind of pissed off, but I've also had the best day of my life because I just got married. I just got engaged. And it's obvious that Taryn has a ring. So that picture at the top is the 2 days later we got married, or 3 days later. And then the picture at the bottom is our actual, Taryn got her wedding day. She got to put her dress on and got to do, like every woman should, have her day. So that's that's the introduction that I gave to my wife that Hetty just gave to me. And I kind of call that picture like she's the undisputed champion of my world. So yeah, that was a really cool moment. And now I guess we'll talk about my podcast. I went from that moment and just kind of grew as a person, and still doing real estate, but I'm not really that hardcore sales type. I don't really care for making phone calls. I hate when my phone goes off and I don't know who it is. And I don't want to be that person calling you, asking you, are you ready to sell your house? So I was always on my phone, and I figured out if I can create a community centered around this state, I could build an engagement and kind of hang out with people, and maybe when they're ready, they would want to sell or buy a house. And that's exactly what my business has been. Like, I hate asking people, when you're in real estate, they have to tell you to sit on the phone and cold call. And even though I have an accent, right, I just wasn't comfortable doing it. And everyone's like, oh, you're going to be great at it. I'm like, no one wants to hear a kid from halfway around the world who's not good at real estate to ask them to buy their house, right? It took like 2 phone calls for people shouting at me to be like, no, I'm done. Typical like palmy kind of red coat, reviews that I got from my phone calls. But I started this thing called This is Oklahoma out of my passion for photography, and started to share other people's pictures because I didn't have enough time or a camera to take my own. And I found out that, this state's got some amazing photographers. Our sunsets are fantastic. Our sunrises, Beck, you've seen our sunrises the last couple of days. If anybody follows Beck, you've seen her sunrise pictures recently. And the community around photography in Oklahoma it's really cool. So that kind of blew up. It took I was consistently reposting people's pictures, and it kind of went crazy, and I wanted to do something more with it. So I love podcasts. Let's start a podcast. Why not? There's only so much you can tell with someone's picture, story. So if you interview them, you give them an hour to talk what they want. So, there's people up there who I've met that I never would have had the chance of meeting. I'm holding a gold medal, an Olympic gold medal in one of them, Kaleo McClay. She lives in Edmond, Paralympian for sit-down volleyball. Justin Wren, who's up there, who's doing Stand with Raiden right now. Todd from EOT was one of my first episodes. And there's people up there who I sat with. The mayor was decent. It wasn't great, but it was okay. I'd like to redo that interview because I don't really care for politics. And I asked him a few questions that I don't think he liked. So I'd like to do that one again if he's listening. But there's people up there who, if I didn't break my silence and come out of this quiet, lonely, depressed kid who always Skyped his mum at the age of 21 and cried, then I wouldn't be here today. And there's everything I can tie myself to, going back to voicing my concern about, or voicing I'm going to marry this girl, right? And saying, oh, you're going to be referred to Kelly. Well, Kelly's going to say you have to get married now. And I wouldn't be here if I didn't talk about that. And you can go back even further to saying I want to stay in this country and meeting Chad, and then Chad now becoming my brother-in-law. All this stuff wouldn't have happened if I didn't speak up and didn't force myself to become the person I wanted to be and just speak out and have my, my truth or whatever. So I think I'll close with just saying that, everyone has a voice, right? And we have more platforms now than ever to share that voice that you have. Even if you don't want to speak out loud, you have a blog, you have whatever it is, there's more ways now to be yourself around the world than ever before. I don't care if it's talking to someone in Oklahoma. If you like butterflies and someone in Japan likes butterflies, then talk to them about butterflies. It's really easy. Hashtags are worldwide, right? Not like Oklahomans. So I want to say thanks for having me, and be yourself and share your story, and then one day maybe you'll be a Welsh guy with a love of Oklahoma. So thanks for having me.
We do have time for 1 to possibly 2 questions. Anyone have a question for Mike?
Podcast is on iTunes and Spotify. If you want to be on the podcast, just send me an email or DM.
Oh, you might regret saying that. 1 question, yes.
What made you love Oklahoma so much?
So the first day I got here, the second day I got here, we went to dinner at Ann's Chicken Fry on 39th Expressway. And if you've ever been past that building and think, there's nothing in there, it looks like a terrible building, right? If you haven't been in there, go inside. It's a Route 66 treasure, and there's so much memorabilia on the wall in there, it's a really cool spot. But when I was in there, my dad sat down for dinner, this lady noticed my accent, and she turned to me and said, I don't know why you're here, but if you're staying, we kind of explained, I'm staying, I'm on my own. And this sweet old lady said, if you ever need anything, here's my number. And that was 2 days in, and I thought that was really weird at the time. Now I do that to people, right? I find myself doing it. So everyone will say this, and I'll give the same answer as well. It's the people, everyone's great. So that's one thing that made me love this place.
Well, that was
Great, you guys, great questions, both of you with the same one. Thanks again, let's give it up for Mike. Just a reminder, these are all the cool chapters, cities, countries, attendees, talks online, and video views. You guys are part of something global, not just local, and it's cool that Creative Mornings encourages everything to be local, but be a part of the bigger community. So that's really cool. You guys should know our local sponsors by now, our partners, right? Say them with me, Clover Partners, Treasury, Roast Scout. And can we please have a round of applause for our volunteers? I'm going to clap the loudest and the longest because they do so much to help us out. And we are so grateful. We could not do this event without them at all. So make sure you give them a hug or a high five on the way out. Video and photography. Everybody, let's first admire Les' biceps. As we do every month, it's our new mascot. He loves it when I talk about that. And Steph on photos, her work is fantastic. I've hired her myself, so I would say she's hiding right now. She doesn't like this. But check her out on Instagram. She put her head down further when I said that. But make sure you follow her on Instagram and, you know, Photogs for Hire. Thank you to me. Just kidding. I didn't put this slide in here. There's a reason that's in there. I didn't do it, I promise. Hey, guys. Mel chose that photo. You can tell. This is kind of some family moment we're going to have. I am actually stepping down as co-host of Creative Mornings starting in February. Next month will be my last month co-leading with the fabulous Mel. But it's for a good reason. I'm getting promoted at my job, so that's fun. Yeah, thank you. You didn't have to applaud. I just made it more awkward than saying thank you to myself. But I just want to tell you guys, I first moved to Oklahoma in 2017, I think. Yeah, 2017 in the late summer. And Creative Mornings was the very first thing that I did. I didn't know anyone, I had no friends, and I remember my first event was right after Creative Mornings started. I think it was March of maybe it was 2017, I don't know what year, 2018, with Ben Knuckles at Plenty Mercantile, and we were all crying. And I just remember standing in the back, not knowing anybody, going, what is happening in this room? Because it's magic. And I'm still introverted, I know you don't believe me, but I remember just saying, I have to be a part of this because I have nothing else going on. I have no friends, no community, nothing. I'm new to the city, and I'm alone. And I remember talking to Hannah, the founder of this chapter, and she's like, we need volunteers. And I was like, well, I can check people in, and then I will know faces. I will probably still never remember all of your names, and I'm so sorry for that. But, so I volunteered for a year, and because of Creative Mornings, I have deep friendships with several people in this room. I have business partnerships with people in this room. And more than anything, I have a love for the creative community of Oklahoma City. So if you've ever been on the fence about should you come, should you bring people, should you be involved, the answer is yes. And so I just want to say thank you guys for making this something that's a highlight of my month. And thanks to Mel and Hannah for starting this up. But I'll still be around. I'm just not going to be one of the boss ladies in charge anymore. So thank you so much for the opportunity to help lead. And Hetty is making a strange noise. I'm not exactly sure what it is. Oh, that was crying. It sounded like a bear, like snoring. I wasn't sure. But we have two new co-hosts, and I get to introduce them. So they're faces that have already been involved. And again, I became a host because I was a volunteer, and these two volunteers have been with us working very hard behind the scenes. Suze and Beth, do you guys want to say hi? They're so cute! They're much more calm than I am.
Yes. Hi guys. I'm just saying a quick hello, and my story is very similar to Andrea. I moved here at the tail end of 2015. I love Creative Mornings, and you guys inspire me, and I just love you. And so, yeah, I'm very excited about the year ahead.
Really short here. I'm Suze. I have been, I think, with Creative Mornings for a year now. I think next month is a year. I've been checking in all of your beautiful faces. I don't really know what my role is going to be, but I'm excited to work alongside, I'm sorry, I looked at you, not you, Beth and Mel back there somewhere. But yeah, I look forward to 2020 and what we can bring to Oklahoma City.
Thank you to everybody that brought a coat to donate to those in need this, I almost said this summer? I don't know what day it is, guys. I'm sorry. It's a busy time. For whatever day and season it is, thank you for everybody that brought a coat. And silence. Did you guys enjoy today? Yes. Sometimes your face doesn't tell me this good, which is why I'm asking. But we love you. High fives and hugs. And if you guys want to hang out for like a half hour and buy lunch, you're more than welcome to stay. Grab some coffee on your way out.
And what?
Oh, and there's merch you can buy. It looks pretty dope. I know you can't see it in the back, but hang out, be friends, mingle, and be merry. Woo!